Welcome to this live broadcast. I'm Søren Jonas Brun. I'm General Partner of Gemstone Capital. We will do this presentation, as you can hear, in English. We're not so good in Swedish and our Danish may not be so good for you. So we hope it's okay that we do it in English. We'll try to speak slowly and understandably throughout. I'm here together with Kim Lykke Sommer. Kim is the CEO of MenuPay. Kim is the key person for tonight. He will talk about his favorite topic, which is our company, MenuPay. The way we will do this today is Kim will make a small 5, maybe 10 minutes presentation, verbal presentation of MenuPay. And after that, we will dig into all the good questions that we are sure that you will ask us. We will have them here on our screen in front of us. So if we look at the screen throughout, it's because we like to follow. And when we get to the Q&A part of the session, we will read out the questions and try to answer them as best we can. And we hope we will be able to do this in 45 minutes, maybe a little bit more, depending on the amount of questions. So welcome everybody. This is a first for us. We haven't done this before. So if it's a bit clumsy, please excuse us. But we are pleased to be here and happy to share information about MenuPay with all you good people from the Aktieraketer Facebook forum. So Kim, would you like to introduce yourself and MenuPay?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Søren. Yes, I'm Kim Lykke Sommer. I'm the CEO of MenuPay. Been there for 4.5 years. And we in my time, we have been growing the company tremendously, and I would like to tell you a little bit more about that. But first, I would like to introduce you to who and what is MenuPay. And basically, we are a fintech company that are delivering the leading B2B platform, actually, to deliver discounts, to deliver bonuses, and to deliver a loyalty solution. And that we do with our own integrated payment technology included. And daily, we are doing a digitalization of the relationship or collaboration between restaurants on one side and then companies and their employees at the other side. And that we will show you a little bit more of in a minute. Today we are listed at Spotlight, the former Aktieraketer. We've been there for a little more than 2 years. We were listed there February 2017. And currently we have been growing, and we are this year aiming to triple our restaurant turnover. So we will get close to 100 million Swedish kroners, and that is currently in our business in Denmark. We are on the verge to get into Sweden. We just opened in April in Sweden, and yesterday actually we had the first payments in the first restaurants in Malmö. So actually now we are in 2 countries also with payments, and currently we have 9 restaurants running in Malmö, and we have about 10 companies that we signed so far, where some of them are, for instance, Telia, Nordea, and some other large-sized companies with about 20,000 employees at the moment, and that's going to grow tremendously in the next few months. We will come more back to in a minute about our offer at this point, but currently we are raising 23 million Swedish kronor to grow our business, but we will come back to that a little bit later. As I said before, we are actually connecting quality restaurants. That's one of the key issues here, that from mid and up to Michelin-starred restaurants, we are connecting restaurants with companies and their employees that go out for dining. And this relationship had actually been there for many years. It's been common for restaurants to do company agreements, and also for companies to do restaurant agreements. But so far, it's been a very manual process. It's something that has been done from procurement to the restaurant owner, the restaurant manager. And what we actually have done is digitalize this. So what we provide is an app or a tool, a platform, where the restaurants actually can do marketing towards these interesting B2B customers. And at the other hand, then we are helping the procurement, the finance, getting agreements that the company can use and spend on representation. One thing that has happened when we entered this business is actually we also negotiated with the restaurants that this can be used as a company benefit. So actually we are also good friends with the HR director or manager in the companies, because now they can offer all these restaurant agreements to employees. Currently we hold a little less than 500 restaurant agreements in Denmark, and then on top we have close also to 500 companies that we are working closely with. So it's a big collaboration. What we've seen here is that this platform we developed now is very interesting for partners. So on one side we can see that, for instance, a takeaway partner, where we have one called Takeout, they're very interested in our company relationships, where we have these 450, 500 companies that we work with. And in that case, it's interesting for them actually to get into our network and do marketing and upsell of their takeout service, which is interesting for us, because when people are working late, for instance with large companies like Deloitte or PricewaterhouseCoopers, then it can be interesting for these people that they, through our app, can order and they can pay through our service. At the other hand, there is some large-size hotel apps, retail apps that are interested in, or retail companies that are interested in using our app and our service for things where they actually can get into a restaurant network. Because for these type of companies, it's difficult and complex for them to do 450, 500 restaurant agreements. So on that side, it actually works pretty well for them. My hope was actually to show you how the app and our platform works. And this is going to be a little bit tricky, but I will try to show you. So the idea is actually that our software, our app works like this, that it's a solution where each company can have different agreements in, actually. So you could work in one Swedish bank and have some agreements and some discount or bonuses here, and another bank would have other restaurants and other agreements. But first of all, to be honest, one thing that is key here is actually the languages. Currently we are working in English and in Danish. In a few months we will also be available in Swedish for the Swedish territory, and then we will move on to other territories. The app still needs a credit card to pay for the service, and as I said before, it can both be used for business purpose and for private use. So here you can add several cards. We also in Denmark have an integration to MobilePay, and we're working to get a similar integration to Swish in Sweden, so you can use that as a tool. On the front page, we have several options to find restaurants that are close to you. One is called Places Nearby, there's new restaurants, and there's also a search field where you can add free text if you would like to search for a special address or some kind of attraction or venue where you're close to. Then you can use that to find restaurants nearby. But the easiest thing here is like open and see what is the closest restaurant, and then you can scroll and you can see different restaurants, and all the restaurants we have is in here. There's also the options here to show it through a map, and there you will see that you have several restaurants that are close by. I'll try to hold it here. Yep. So if we go into one restaurant, here you can see what is agreed with this special restaurant. In my case, that is that in this at this period of time, we would get 14% discount and 1% bonus at this restaurant if we went to dine. One very important thing that is here actually with our service is that it's completely anonymous, it's completely discreet. So what you do is you go into the restaurant, you dine, and you do whatever you usually do. And when you come to the payment, you ask the waiter for a bill, and then actually you pay through our service, our app. And that's key for the business customers. They would like this to be discreet. They don't want to be showing some kind of discount coupons or anything else. It's B2B, it's very discreet. And also for the restaurant, the waiter coming to the table, he don't need to think about any kind of discounts or what kind of money, what kind of discount this company could have. He just needs to deliver a bill. So that he does. In our case, he would put a bill on the table. We would click pay, and then actually we would enter that we spent, let's say, 1,000 kroner, and then we will tell, in our case here, if we are here for private or for business use. That's only for statistical use we will have this. Then, as I said before, we will need to add a credit card for payment, or we would use a bonus that we would have here. Then we choose a credit card. And we will pay, and that we will do. We will get a screen here saying what are we doing now, and what we would see here is actually we pay and either confirm through Touch ID, or we would do it through a PIN code. And now I will use the PIN code just to show here how we could do. And then we will get a receipt on screen here saying that we paid for the restaurant. Yep. Coming back here, then we would get an extra bonus, and also there would be several other ways to go see that we could have an event service where we actually help companies. I'll put this down. We have an event service where we help companies to do venues, do events, and if they have, it's like a butler service. So the large side companies have personal assistants, secretaries that needs help and would like to know where can we go and dine. Then we help them with this in our service. These are the basic things. As I mentioned before, there is also a takeout partner. So you can click here and you can choose takeout as a service. And then through that, you would actually have the option that you can order your food, get it delivered, and pay through our service. The smart thing here is actually you get the bill sent to your company if it's for business use. And we just announced Friday that we now have a service with a large size customer or a company called Aktieraketer, who are by far the biggest in Denmark that are doing expense management systems. They have about 150,000 users. For them now, we will be integrated. So when we have a bill, it will be directly integrated to their expense system service. That is, first of all, that is the service basically.
Yeah. So you can look at MenuPay in many ways. You could say that it's a company with a service which actually adds really a lot of convenience to its users. It is a service which has become a pure blood fintech company with a technology platform. And we're now ready, based on the service model that we have developed in Denmark, which is B2B, as Kim has talked about, with companies in one end and restaurants in the other. We're now ready to basically take that technology platform that we have built and take that international together with licensed partners. Which is much more scalable, as you can imagine, than if we were to build our own service operations in all different countries or major cities. So we are here today and with this issue here to basically say, well, now we got to the point where we have proven ourselves in Denmark. The system really works. There's more than 200 transactions every day. There's lots of millions and millions of kroner going through the system. It always works. I can say that. I'm a very heavy user myself, and the platform is ready for international adoption. And there's a lot, and that's the good news here. There's a lot of existing operators in large cities, much larger than Copenhagen, that have had a service which involves a number of restaurants and discounts and things. But that has been very manual. That has been very paper-based, very tedious, and actually rarely working really well. It goes all the way back to the coupons that we had in the old days. Mm-hmm. These players, they still exist, barely. Few of them are successes, but they still have the relationships with the good restaurants. And we can come in and basically give them new life by adding our platform to them and their infrastructure, by adding our business model, the connection to the companies, many of which we have signed up in Denmark, but that have locations in London, in Frankfurt, in Stockholm, in other places. So we really, based on a journey that has been quite long and expensive too, now have built a platform which is ready for growth, and that's why we have this issue now. And
yeah, you can say we're a little bit like telecom or like infrastructure when you build roads or when credit cards come. So it has taken some time and well, actually a few years actually to build the structure where we have all these restaurants at one side and all these companies at the other side. Currently, we have almost 62,000 downloads and users of our service. And we expect that, as I said before, this year we will have about 100 million Swedish kronor going through the system, and that will grow to close to double in summer next year, and where we will have about 114,000 users end of Q1 next year, we expect. So numbers are rising quite high and quite tremendously. Currently, we are working with a transaction fee on about 3.9%, because that's one of the important things that we should mention, that the whole idea is that you go to a restaurant, you eat and you dine, and then the money flow, that goes through us. So we receive the money, and then before we send to the restaurants, which we do weekly, then we charge a commission of currently 3.9%. This commission, we are growing at the moment. We have gotten new deals, we are getting new contracts in. So we're getting close to 7% in our fee, which means that we will be very close to break even at the end of this year in the Danish business, and then from there we will build first of all the Swedish one that we are now, but also international. We're aiming at with our platform.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If we were to be a little bit harsh on ourselves, you can say that we are a company that has gone through a lot of tough development. It's not easy to build a platform based on an entirely new business model, but we have done that, and Kim has managed with his team to grow the business by, in fact, a factor of 10 or more. Even just after, for the period after the IPO, which was back in February 17, which is a good 2 years ago. So we are 10 times stronger than we were at the time of the IPO. We came out, we thought that was attractive at that time, with a price per share in the IPO of 4 Swedish kroner and 50 øre, 4.50. Because it has taken a bit longer and has cost us a bit more money, we have we've seen our share price drop, and we are now down to a level of 1.40 in our issue now. We had a share price which was in a growing pattern back in April when we issued the statement about our new transaction here. And we were at around 250 when we announced it. After that, the price has come down to the issue price roughly. I guess that's a normal mechanism. We think we belong up there where we came from, and with all the good progress, even after we announced the issue, Kim has announced all the good things about our new wins in Sweden, our new thing with this expense management system, Aktieraketer, as well as other good things that you can find more about on the investment dashboard that we have. If you go to the MenuPay.com site, there's a yellow bar at the top. Press that and you get into the MenuPay investment dashboard. There's a lot of information, including all the good news that we have seen since we launched the issue. So.
One thing we could tell maybe is a little bit about the secret, how it works.
Yeah.
That one thing that we saw, and why this actually is a success, is that, as I said in the beginning, this has been a collaboration between restaurants and company for a long time. But actually what we see is that the companies really would like to put some power behind this actually. So they do a lot of communication for us internally in the companies. First of all, for the representation and for the dining out with customers and internal with teams. There they do this and push it internally, like remember to use the MenuPay because it saves money for the company, it saves cost. But also in intranets, in the cantinas and where people are coming, they put up posters, we come there also to promote this, and it's free of charge. So we are able to get this and get the promotion from the company actually because they see this is really strong. At the other hand, we can see also now that even restaurants, and if you go to our website, you will also see that one of the Michelin stars restaurants here in Copenhagen is promoting us there because they can see this is really clever. They get a digitalization of the connection between them and the large size company and the business to business users. So they both sides are really strong and behind us. And then when we see people like, for instance, Sørens or others, we often meet people and say, hey, I'm a big fan of this. This is really smart. So our biggest thing at the moment is actually to grow and get the information out there about that we exist and we are getting stronger and stronger. And that we can see gets better day by day. We have more and more customers, companies and restaurants actually contacting us constantly saying, hey, how can we get on board? So that is very positive.
So in a way, you can say whether you want to use the picture of the ugly duckling, if you know Hans Christian Andersen, that became a wonderful swan one day. We have been pushing this one up the hill for quite some time. It's easing, the amount of power we need to use to push it further is easing because customers, users, even you mentioned to me before this broadcast that there was one calling you even today.
Yep.
An employee of a company, can I join in here with my new company? I used to have this service in my old company. So that obviously makes it easier to grow when it becomes a recognized service that you don't want to miss. And then it becomes a way to open the doors to new companies, new users, eventually self-scaling if you want.
One thing she did was actually when she called me, she said, how much is the cost? Could you please tell me what does it cost? And actually for now, it's for free. We invite them because we make the earnings on the commission on every transaction. And the commission itself will, at the end of this year, be enough to put us in break even. But there is some upsides here where actually we are having these 62,000 customers at the moment. That would be more than 100,000 in the beginning of next year. We are targeting them with newsletters once to twice a week. We have an app with push messages. And there's also the option of making good deals on behalf of restaurants. Like if you use hotels.com or something similar, you have the hotel of the month or hotel of the week. We could have the same. So there is some options here that in our business case we haven't even included yet. And everything we have here is scalable. We will be able to do this, and we do now in Sweden. We could do it all over the world. So when we have been out there, we actually been checking. We haven't found anyone in the world, competitors, who does exactly what we do. There is competitors who work with takeaways, with restaurant deals in the business to consumers. But there's not many who works business to business actually. And when we come into the part about high-end restaurants, there's almost none. And when you have your own payment solution included, so everything is discrete and you're in the payment flow and the money flow, we haven't seen anyone at the moment. So for us now, and the reason also for the mission here and the subscription that we're in, is that we need speed. So if you look into Uber or Airbnb, they've been growing tremendously during the last couple of years, and we need the same. So that's why we're looking into scaling our company, and that's also why we are starting now and have been looking inside the licensing and franchising business the last couple of months, and in quite close negotiations with a few partners in up to 5 different countries at the moment, where we see actually that people are calling us, asking us, hey, we have been running coupon systems, or we have been running a takeaway solution. How could we get into this? Because we really need a platform like this. And hopefully inside a not too long time, we can hopefully get into even more countries.
This is really important because like we said earlier, if we were to build local organizations in every new city, this would take forever and cost much too much. Whereas coming up with a solution that is plug and play for the local operator and his restaurant network is a completely different story. We can start working with him, creating transactions very quickly. We can basically hook up the companies, the corporate members very quickly based on our model here, and get it going with a very limited effort actually. So we're looking at something here which it is a promise, and we don't know exactly how fast it will go, but all indications are that this can really scale much more and much faster than what we've seen so far.
Yep.
So we can talk for a long time here, Kim. I think I've been looking at the screen here while we have been talking, waiting for questions to pop up. I haven't really seen any, but if you have questions, please start asking them so that we can pick up on that and get into a dialogue with you guys out there. And until you do so, we have a lot that we can tell and that we would like to share with you. The international dimension is really important to us, and we have talked about that. The other key thing in our strategy is that, as you can imagine, this is a bit like infrastructure. Building a road or a bridge or a big building or something takes forever, and it costs a lot of money. But once it's there, it can be used in many ways. And the more traffic you have, the more money you make, and that really becomes profitable once you get to a critical mass, which is what we are about to be at here in Denmark. But the other way of accelerating the value creation in a business model like that is by adding additional revenue streams. We're not talking about changing the strategy, we're not talking about defocusing the business, but we're talking about selling more to our customers, monetizing those users, the 60,000 users growing to 100,000, as Kim talks about. And maybe, Kim, you can talk about how we do that.
Oh, yeah, I can, but currently we have been developing a new system. It's called a dining day. It's a ticket system, actually, where we are selling fixed menus, because we could see there was a request, there was a need for this. Sometimes you have a need to have a fixed deal at a restaurant where you always get 10% discount when you come and you dine. But sometimes restaurants say, hey, you know, when we come to January, we can see we really have trouble filling the restaurant, and especially maybe Monday to Wednesday. So we can make a deal actually where we are providing you with a strong offer. You have a preset menu or a set menu where you actually come, you dine, and you get actually the menu for half price. So there is some options there. Another way of doing this is running different campaigns actually, where we are promoting them and maybe offering a double discount. But for instance, in Sweden, there's also the options like in some years back, you had this lunchkuponger or like Rikskuponger, yeah. And that was typically running that you had a special deal, or you had 5 coupons and you got the 6th meal for free or something. This is a way of giving you 20% discount. So instead of having this, you could have everything running through our system actually. So there are a couple of the companies I spoke with in Sweden so far have been telling me this is really clever, because we often go to this restaurant around the corner, and if you could make a deal with them that instead of we have this benefits or other things, then we could have everything through running through our app. And that is one of the things we can see in markets where you don't have a canteen service, or where you go out for lunch, which we don't have in Denmark. But in many other countries, there's a big potential, because they go out actually dining for lunch, they go out dining for dinner. In Denmark, we don't go out dining for lunch. So there is a huge potential in other areas. One thing that we should maybe mention is also on the side of saying that we are providing a 15% discount or 15% benefit for customers. And then at the moment we are charging around this 3.94%. So totally today, it costs the restaurants about 19% to work with us. Inside this year, we are targeting to get that close to 20. That sounds like a lot, but if you take takeaway partners like Evolve or other services, if you take services that do venue service and these things, they charge up to 35%. So actually, in this area where we are working, we are actually still fairly cheap compared to other businesses that are helping fill the restaurants or deliver customers that will eat their food. So that's also one of the other things also where we see actually a nice benefit from restaurants, that they really would like to work with us, because we still have very reasonable costs for them to provide guests.
And not only guests, it's actually better guests, because many of those discount services or coupons or what have you, last minute offers, what people buy there is cheaper menus. They buy cheaper wine than our business customers often do. Our business user average is about 1,000 Danish kroner when they go out and dine in a proper restaurant, which is a lot more than these coupon customers they do. So anyways, we've seen some questions coming in here. And Michael Nielsen, you asked a question about our PM from earlier today or yesterday about our recent success here, not here, but over there, or with you guys in Sweden. And we would be happy to explain a bit more about what that means to us, this early indication of success.
Yeah. Well, currently it of course means that we are based in Malmö, and we opened, and the first clients have started to come there and use us. We are working very hard to get to Gothenburg, to get to Stockholm, to also provide our services there, Because what we see is actually these light-size clients we have, we work with, the companies that we work with, for instance, here in Denmark, they have typically daughter companies or headquarters in Stockholm and could also be in Gothenburg, and they request, please come and help us there, because they can see the service we're providing them here is actually a service they're requesting in other large cities too. So in Stockholm, Gothenburg, Oslo, Helsinki, the Baltics, there's a request saying, please come and help us there, because we would like to have the same service. And that's one of the dreams I have with this service and our platform, is that actually no matter which big city I fly to or I land in, I come to, or it could be London, could be Hamburg, could be Berlin, could be Stockholm. When I land there, I would really like to just open my app, see, hey, what kind of inspiration, where should I go, where should I dine? Or when I check into a hotel, instead of going to the hotel restaurants, which sometimes can be boring, especially if you're staying for many days, it would be nice to open my app and say, hey, I should go to this restaurant. This is recommended by MenuPay, and I actually get a 15% discount or bonus when I go there. So that's one of the things we really hope to achieve. And we have a goal saying that inside 2019, we will have at least 100 restaurants running in Sweden.
And actually, if we were to correct ourselves just a little bit, we talked about not having seen anything similar out there. There is an American company called Dinova, or Dinova, or whatever how they talk about themselves. They actually help employees that travel, because that's what people do a lot in the States, to different cities, and do that for a long time. And then they recommend restaurants the way Kim just described, but that's not a digital service. It's not a payment service. So it is true that we haven't seen anything like MenuPay, where the whole thing is integrated into one app, including payment and settlement, expense management, and so on. But the early part of that, which is to identify the restaurant locally in Houston, if you come from Boston and need something exciting to eat, that service is there, but it's a service that isn't really as advanced as we would want it to be here in the Nordics, because back here we are leaders in the world when it comes to mobile payment. And we think that we can actually ride the wave, surf the wave, as if you want, of mobile payment becoming a standard, because we have our platform and it's well sort of implemented and integrated and adopted by users back here. So we think that we are in a very strong position to do what others have already done, but doing it the full step through the process, including payment and settlement and so on.
Yeah, and I'm sure that with players like Apple Pay in the market now, we see that, for instance, if you go to the Southern Europe, if you go there during the summertime, then check how many of them that are actually fond of taking a credit card. They prefer cash. Credit card they might. Mobile pay, it's not there yet. It will come. You don't have to go far away from Denmark. If you go across the southern border and go to Hamburg in Germany, they still have trouble accepting credit cards. But I saw last time I was there checking that now actually you can park through Easy Park and use their app to park in Hamburg. And I'm quite sure that the restaurants would be very happy suddenly, hey, instead of always having cash, you can suddenly accept a payment solution like ours. So that's very interesting when we see other cities.
It's a big trend coming.
Big trend coming. And also we can see the big trend actually for the Nordic market, also for other large-sized cities, is that you dine out more and more. So we can see there's quite a big growth of people wanting to go out and not cooking themselves. There is more and more going out for dinners or for lunches. And there we also in a growing trend actually with the market going our way actually.
Exactly.
So we have a good wind at our back.
And then a question came up here, which I'm really pleased with, which is what other business areas can use our app, the licensing of our app. We are not going to leave our strategy here, but there are players that can actually take our app or our service and integrate that into their environment. And we did that recently with a service called Aktieraketer, which is a hotel service, which is really interesting back here in Denmark, and there could be more such examples, I guess. Kim.
Yeah. Let's keep with Aktieraketer for now, because for Aktieraketer it was interesting for them. They're actually growing and they're scaling in the world now in different markets. And for them, it was interesting to provide a service. So when you come to the hotel, actually, as I mentioned before, you open the app and then actually you can see where you should go and dine. And they were very interested in that because they cannot provide that service themselves. And also for the restaurant, actually, they think it's important that they suddenly can get these nice hotel guests. They don't know where to go. And the hotel itself also thinks that, hey, actually, you get less and less people at the hotels. At one point, the reception might just be some digital solution where you check in with an app and then you don't see anyone. So how do you get the service? How do you get inspiration where to go? This could be through our app, actually. So that's interesting. And one thing that we have done so far, we have had lots of questions saying, hey, why don't you do taxi service? Why don't you do flowers? Why don't you do different things? What I always said is that we will keep doing what we're good at. So we keep things what we can eat. So a restaurant, chocolate, wines, we will keep in this kind of delicacy area. Then the platform could be used for other things. So I'm not saying that it couldn't be, but it's not going to be in MenuPay. But we have a licensing agreement that you could use it and you could use the service on our platform for other things too. But for our sake, MenuPay is this, then there could be other brands using us.
And then you can say just a quick sum up here, or addition to that, our restaurants, they also feel the trend of people wanting to eat restaurant food outside the restaurant. In a home environment or elsewhere, even in the companies. That is where the integration that we have made with a company called Takeout is interesting. But the logic here is that as much as the restaurants are interested in takeout business, they make more money when customers eat in than when they eat out. So and restaurants are not very good at actually digitalizing and actually marketing themselves towards the right customers. So we can actually work with those takeaway operators, such as Takeout, and add to their local operations this additional service of actually helping them getting more of those attractive eat-in customers. So that is also an area where our license can be of interest in the future.
Besides filling the restaurants, there's another service actually we are providing at the moment. That is that we are used as an internal benefit program also for the restaurant and their employees. So actually, I just went to a restaurant today, signing up 2 new restaurants here in Copenhagen. And the first thing they asked was, hey, can our employees also use this and go dine with discounts and benefits at these 450, 500 restaurants you have in Denmark? And I said, yeah, of course they can. And what we see is also that they sometimes have issues and troubles with their staff discount in the restaurant. It might be sometimes just the cash register where you have to click a button and then you provide a staff discount of maybe 25%. They have no statistics. They don't know who using it and who got the discount. With our system, actually, they can provide a 10% discount for regular business customers, but when they have their own staff coming, they can see that the restaurant waiter or the manager gets 25%. They pay through the app. Everything is settled right away. It doesn't have to go through their salaries and be deducted from there. Everything is handled right away. And that's actually one of the other things that we can see. It's a key thing. And what we've seen actually in some areas, some of the restaurants say, hey, we would like to share our staff discount with this restaurant at the corner. We are close friends. Mondays we dine at each other. And instead of having a 10%, we give our employees 25% and they can go try each other's restaurant. So there might even be a whole close circle of restaurants that use this for internal use also between them. That's another additional we are seeing.
So let's move on. There's another question that came from you, Gabriel. You ask if a group of people from a company dine for, say, 10,000 Danish kroner, how much do they get back in loyalty bonus or discounts?
Well, currently they are getting 15% in average. That can be either through a discount or it can be through a bonus. But in total, the average is 15, and currently we are getting the 4.
So that would be 1,500 kroner.
That would be 1,500 kroner. So the 15% would be 1,500.
Which is more than 2,000 Swedish, just for the record.
Yeah, but that would be 1,500 in this case.
And that is irrespective of it doesn't matter if the booking has been made by Kim's events service, which is very popular for larger groups that need to go out and have a good experience, or if it's simply a group of guys or girls or friends that go out and dine and end up spending 10,000 kroner. The same thing applies. They get the full discount.
Yep.
which can be shared between discounts or bonus in different ways.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you, Gabriel. Your comment is it's a generous bonus. Yes, indeed it is. And that's the whole clue here, that we can actually generate profits to the restaurant in a way that is really attractive. It may sound like a lot to pay 15% or so to the guest and then another 5 or 6 to us.
But let
Yeah.
me just elaborate a little bit on that bonus, because it sounds like a lot. But if you take a look at before, when Nordea or a similar bank was doing these kind of agreements, they might got 10%. They had to do all the work themselves. They had a yearly agreement. The restaurant had to do this agreement. They might have to do invoicing, send it off, and wait 60 days to get the money. Administration, lots of that. What we do actually is that we are like a procurement company doing procurement on behalf of 450, 500 companies. So we come with a large group of customers, like more than 100,000 next year, that we provide for the restaurants. So in that case, actually, they save a lot of time, a lot of money. It's digitalizing the whole relationship with the companies, and it's good companies coming, dining for quite a lot of money quite often. So in that case, it's interesting for them. So it's on that behalf that actually we can provide and get them this kind of discount and service, because for them it's important to fill up the restaurants. If you take a restaurant today, about 30% of their cost is on the plate. 70% is other costs like lighting and housing and the chef and all these things. So if there is no customers, if it's empty on a Monday evening, 70% of their cost they have to pay anyway. It's only the 30% that's on the plate. So if we can provide them with a 15% discount or a 20%, which including us, it's actually a good business for them. So that's how it works.
So we're getting close to the 3 quarters of an hour. It means that I would like to maybe just sum up on the terms of the offer that we have.
Yeah.
You're still welcome to ask questions about the business, of course. We don't go home until you have finished with whatever questions you have. But the issue here is done at 1 kroner and 40 Swedish, as I said earlier. It can be subscribed in the normal way through banks and Nordnet, Avanza. It is, and this is quite common for Swedes, but maybe less so for Danes. But it is accompanied with or by subscription rights that you can buy it as a separate instrument if you want to be sure to get the shares. And also, if you subscribe for shares in this issue, which we hope you will, then you will get an option to buy more shares at the price that we will have in a year's time, minus 30%. So that's an extra sweetener, an extra attraction, something hopefully that will want you to participate even more. And that unit, combining the share and the right to subscribe, is what you can buy for 1 kroner and 40 Swedish. You need 3 shares subscribed in this round for one option, and the option can be exercised in August next year. So that is the mechanics of the issue. You have a lot of information available to you. There's more video footage. There's a nice presentation by Kim of the business on the dashboard. There is an investor, Nikolaj Kronborg, who makes a nice presentation about why he has invested and also subscribed, by the way, in the issue here. Last but not least, there's a restaurant owner from a Danish really high-end restaurant called the Kokkeriet that describe why he is so excited about being part of MenuPay as a partner. I don't think he's an investor, but he is indeed a satisfied partner.
Yeah.
And there's also videos, longer ones from our long-form investor presentations with PowerPoint formats. So there's a lot for you to dive into. If you want, you can read the memorandum, you can read the teaser.
Yeah. Maybe you should mention that the 68% has been subscribed by also some of our large size investors.
Yeah. Let me get to that. The issue I've described, the information available. How far are we even before we start? We are at 68% of the issue. The issue in total is 23 million Swedish. 68% of that is already taken care of by a combination of existing shareholders and new ones that have pre-subscribed. I should mention that last year we got 2 major investors in, at least from our perspective, major and really interesting and much appreciated investors, Kraks Fond and Pitsner Gruppen. That is family funds back here in Denmark. They invested at 1 krona and 40 Swedish at that time. And this is also the key to understanding why we came out with this relatively low price per share in this issue, because their investment in MenuPay was a combination of equity at that time and convertible debt. And now they have agreed to convert all of the debt into this round here, so that basically after the round we have fresh cash in the bank and a clean balance sheet, and therefore ready to run faster and go for our goals, especially internationally.
Yes.
So
that's it.
It's now 46 minutes in. If you don't have any questions, we will start closing down. That seems not to be the case. So thank you very much for following us. Again, you're invited to join our journey with MenuPay. We think we have a lot to offer, a lot of potential, risk as well. You can read about that in the memorandum. But we are optimistic and we think we have a reason to be so. Thank you.